School time is the best time, after which there will be a lot of good memories. That's why such a rush is happening near the school. Everyone wants to spend their school years richly. However, high school student Houtarou Oreki does not share this opinion. His motto is not to do it if you don't have to, but to do it as soon as possible if necessary. His only friend from high school, Satoshi Fucube, supports his friend, but does not share his point of view. Houtarou shows an application to join the literary club. He says that his sister asks in a letter to join, otherwise the club will be closed. Later, Houtarou takes the key to the club and rejoices that the club is in a remote location. After checking if the door is closed, he opens it with a key. Inside, he discovers a cute girl. She introduces herself as Eru Chitanda and says that they already know each other, but the guy does not remember her. He asks what she's doing. The girl replies that she joined the club for her own reasons and asks the same question. He understands that the club will not be closed and tells her to close the door when she leaves. She stops him because she doesn't have the key. He wonders how the girl ended up locked up. She claims that the office was open. He hands her the keys, but the girl lights up with this mystery and throws questions at the guy. They notice Satoshi, who was eavesdropping on the guys. He laughs it off, as he will never see Houtarou talking alone with the girl at sunset again. Satoshi meets Eru and realizes that she is one of the 4 famous families in the city. Houtarou tries to leave again, but the girl takes his hand, breaking the spell, and asks him to solve the mystery. Having succumbed to the influence of the girl, he is interested in the details. She replies that she heard a ringing sound before entering the office. They all hear a ringing sound. After leaving the office, they see a janitor who closes the doors using a bunch of keys. They all understand that the cleaner thought the room was empty because of its remote location and closed it. Therefore, Eru did not notice that it was locked from the inside. Near the shoe lockers, Satoshi says that he is joining a literary club, although he belongs to other clubs, adding that Houtarou is also joining, who has already filled out an application. The girl holds out her hand to receive the document. The guy succumbs to the spell again and gives the application. Further, when discussing who will become president, Houtarou says goodbye to his quiet life. The next day, Houtarou stays after school to do his homework. A friend laughs at him. The guy explains that he just left it at home. To kill boredom, Satoshi starts telling him about a new secret. According to him, after lessons, the girl went up to the 4th floor, where she heard a beautiful melody from the music class. Looking inside, the music stopped and there was no one at the piano. Suddenly, a girl from horror appeared and began to move towards the schoolgirl, but she managed to escape. Houtarou only asks if this story has spread through the school, and after receiving an affirmative answer, he takes out a sheet and writes something on it. He asks to come up with a story about a secret club for Eru, which should come up soon. The girl immediately approaches the guys, asking about the secret of the music class. However, Houtarou interrupts her and asks Satoshi to tell her about the secret club. The girl immediately shows interest. Satoshi reveals that there is a secret club known as the Spider Club, which posts its advertisement. However, only a select few can find it. The girl asks for help to solve the mystery. Houtarou is just finishing his homework and agrees to help. They approach the bulletin board on their floor, and then go down to the 1st floor. They're looking for an ad, but they're starting to lose hope. Suddenly, Houtarou finds the poster they need. However, Eru is not impressed and says that the mystery was not a mystery from the very beginning. She adds that it is already late and suggests that we disperse. Satoshi asks why he did all this. The guy replies that he did not want to go to the music class and solve the mystery, because the class is located in the opposite place from the exit. Satoshi still asks what happened in the music class. He replies that obviously the girl decided to rest and went to take a nap, turning on the music. When the music stops playing, the girl will continue the rehearsal. Satoshi is surprised by the guy's deduction, and they go home. A month passes. Houtarou feels comfortable, because the club does not take up much energy and Eru treats sweets. After a while, the girl breaks down and says that she does not intend to just sit there and suggests doing club activities, namely writing an anthology for a school festival. Houtarou reluctantly agrees and asks if she knows how to write an anthology. The girl replies that she has no idea and suggests finding past issues to understand the essence. They search the club, but they don't find it. Despite the guy's fatigue, she suggests continuing the search in the library. In the library, the senior assistant is an acquaintance from high school named Mayaka Ibara. She is not happy with the guy's presence and sarcastically communicates with him. Satoshi appears, who jokes about the warm relationship between the two of them, which Mayaka is angry about. She says he is mean, knowing about her feelings for him. The guys say they came for old anthologies. Mayaka says that there may be anthologies in the repository and suggests waiting for the librarian. Houtarou replies that they will wait. Mayaka again quips that no one is holding him, to which Houtarou accepts permission to leave. However, Satoshi stops him and Mayaka tells a mystery that needs to be solved. Eru immediately became interested in the mystery, catching Houtarou trying to escape. Mayaka shows a large green book and says that anomalies occur with this particular book. It is always taken on Fridays at break and returned after lessons on the same day. Houtarou sees nothing surprising in this. Mayaka calls him a jerk and says that the book can be borrowed for 2 weeks, and it is returned on the same day and at the same time during the break. Also, the book is always taken by different people. Houtarou tries to abstract himself from the guys, but the girl continues to poke his nose with a book, asking him to solve the mystery as he did before. The guy realizes that he will spend even more energy if he does not give up. He begins to reflect that it is impossible to read a book in such a short time, and if you are not going to take it home, then you can read it in the library, which means that the book is not taken for reading. Houtarou asks the guys how else you can use the book. The guys answer from the category to use as a pillow, shield, or cover pickles. The guy is angry at the frivolity of his friends. Then he also has the reasoning that, judging by the names, only girls from the 2nd grade took the book and most likely they belong to some group related by interests. Returning the book to its place, Eru begins to sniff the book, saying that it smells of paint, but Mayaka does not smell it. Houtarou gets the idea that it might be and suggests Eru go check out the place. However, the girl takes his hand and offers to go together. The guy reluctantly agrees. They are followed by Mayaka, who asks Satoshi to replace her, leaving a disgruntled Satoshi at the reception desk. As a result, they come to a fine art class where they notice portraits with that book. The girls light up with their eyes and ask how he understood, but he replies that he just guessed. When they return, everyone discusses each other's mindset, but the guy has returned to his gray shell. Trying to leave, he is stopped as they have not received the old anthologies yet. Just then, the librarian returns and says that there are no anthologies in the repository. Eru gets upset and Houtarou finally leaves. On Sunday morning, Eru calls him, asking to meet. Later, the guy is sitting in a cafe, sipping his drink and waiting for a late girl. She enters the cafe with shortness of breath, wearing a cute white dress. They sit in silence for a while, and the guy can't stand it and is about to leave. The girl stops him and says she's worried. He jokes that she wants to confess her love to him. The girl looks at him and confirms that she really wants to confess. After spending a little time in love euphoria, the guy is returned to Earth. Eru asks to solve the mystery. She talks about an uncle who spent time with her and quenched her thirst for curiosity. He was also a member of the literary club at school. One day she asked him about something. Usually, her uncle answered questions right away, but this time he hesitated, and after answering, she began to cry. In the intense shock, she forgot what the conversation with her uncle was about, and his relatives did not give her an answer. Her last hope was for a literary club, so she asks him to help her. The guy refuses, saying that there are people in the world who can do better. The girl replies that she does not want to spread about her past to everyone, and he also reminds her of her uncle. She adds that her uncle disappeared 7 years ago and, according to the law, a funeral is due to take place soon. She wants to remember everything for the last speech. After a little thought, he says that he will help her, but does not promise. The midterm exams begin, because of which the club activity stops. After a bunch of tests, the guy exhales with relief. He reads a letter from his sister, who tells him that the anthologies are in the safe. He tells the girls about it, but adds that there is no safe here since the club used to be in another office. Going to the last place, Houtarou notices motion sensors, but does not attach importance to this. They are not immediately opened by a high school student named Masashi Togedo, who is clearly blocking the view inside. He asks them what they need, closing the door behind him. They ask about the safe, but Masashi replies that it's not inside. This answer was enough for Houtarou, but he was stopped. Mayaka asks the guy not to leave because he feels something is wrong here. Eru says they will have to search the entire school, which inspires Houtarou to ask to be let inside to look for anthologies. Masashi reluctantly lets them into the classroom and asks them not to poke their noses where they shouldn't. The guys don't find anything. Houtarou decides to put pressure on the guy and asks if the classroom has been rearranged, and also suggests calling the teacher to look more carefully. Masashi can't stand it and starts shouting for them to leave this place. Houtarou, having achieved his goal, says that as soon as they find the anthologies, they will immediately leave him alone, and adds that if he finds the anthologies, then let him bring them to their club, since the door will not be closed. After standing in the hallway for a while, they return to their club, where all the previous issues are on the table. Mayaka asks how he guessed. The guy begins to tell that the high school student initially behaved strangely, and he also ventilated the office with a fan that can take down sheets of paper. He also noticed the presence of motion sensors and a radio and the smell of air freshener. Putting everything together, the guy realized that the high school student smokes and hides cigarettes in a safe under boxes. Satoshi joins their company in a sunflower costume. Eru finds an issue from her uncle's time and tells the guy that she was asking about the anthology. However, the girl cannot remember completely. The guy offers to read the anthologies. Mayaka notices that the first issue is missing, which upsets Eru. After school, Houtarou and Eru go together. The guy suggests to simplify the task to let the guys into her secret. The girl is not thrilled with the idea at first. The guy says that then her secret may not be solved at all, after which the girl agrees. The next day, she tells about her secret and the guys are happy to offer help. They are also interested in anthology covers. On a day off, the guys meet and ride bicycles to the house of Eru, who greets them. Mayaka is already located in the common room. Eru starts the meeting by telling his theory of what happened 45 years ago and suggests writing about it in an anthology. She says that after reading the anthologies, she found out that her uncle was expelled in October. My uncle was also calm, became a hero before the festival, and later a victim. She suggests that he rebuffed the bullies, but Satoshi claims that in those years the problems were of a different scale due to the government's struggle with the system. Mayaka says her theory refutes the Eru theory. The meeting moves to the porch because of a tired Satoshi. Mayaka begins to tell me that she found a review of the first anthology, which tells the story of the battle between students and teachers. Uncle Eru was the main one among the students, so he was expelled after a possible mass brawl, as the rights of the students were violated. Houtarou recalls that the festival was in June and he was expelled in October, so there was no violence. The next one should be led by Satoshi, who is hungry. They move into the kitchen. Eru cooks onigiri for everyone. Satoshi shares his information, which refutes the girl's theory. He found an issue of the school newspaper that talked about the communion of the whole school, but the guy did not make up his theory. It's Houtarou's turn, but the guy gets nervous and goes to the bathroom, where his brain starts working at full capacity. They return to the common room, where he tells his guests. He recalls when everything happened, as well as the reason for the oppression of the rights of the students. Then there was a meeting to hold a school festival, which they wanted to shorten in order to increase lessons, which the students were dissatisfied with. My uncle defended the festival as it should be, so he became a hero. He was expelled for this prank not immediately, otherwise the activists would have raised a new fuss. Eru praises the guy for his insight, which confuses him. Satoshi is glad that his friend has shown what he is capable of again, and Mayaka, on the contrary, is angry. They come to the conclusion that everyone agrees to accept his version as the basis for the anthology. Later, Eru doesn't understand why she started crying then. Returning home, Satoshi asks the guy why he didn't take the chance to do nothing. Houtarou replies that by looking at them as they glow, he begins to glow himself. He adds that he does not understand what the secret is and thinks to spend some energy to solve it. Satoshi suggests that Houtarou is jealous of them and he says that he does not rule it out. In the evening, Houtarou reflects on whether he wants a bright life like that of his friends, Uncle Eru or his sister. He rereads his sister's letter, where he finds a line saying that after a while she will not regret the years she has lived. Suddenly his sister calls him and he tells her that the club is starting to write an anthology about Uncle Eru. The sister says she is glad that the name is still heard, even though the story is tragic. He clarifies about the same person they are talking about and asks for details, but the sister hangs up. He realizes that his theory may be wrong or has not been fully told. He thinks about the tragedy of the story for the sake of his classmates, sacrificing his future. He is eager to solve the mystery. The next day, the guy invites everyone to the club after lessons, which surprises the guys. The guy says that they need to fill in the gaps that remained in the story after yesterday. He says that he is not completely sure about the new information, which annoys Mayaka. The guy continues that last time they did not pay attention to the fact that the uncle could have sacrificed himself or was sacrificed. Mayaka says that then the meaning changes completely. Eru responds that both options are correct. Then Satoshi says that the true meaning can only be learned from the author of the preface himself. Houtarou packs up and says that they really just need to ask the author of the review, who is currently an elderly woman who has been around all this time. They guess that this author is a librarian. He adds that she was the president of the club and she also knew what happened 45 years ago and knew her uncle. He also adds that he arranged to meet her at the library where all the guys went. Yauko Aidogawa, the librarian, greets the guys who came. She confirms that she wrote the review and asks why they are interested in what happened. Eru talks about the situation and asks to tell you what really happened. After reading their theory, Yauko is amazed at how they quite accurately put together a story from a small amount of information. However, Houtarou says that he considers the theory incomplete and asks if the uncle sacrificed himself. She says that the festival used to be considered a stimulus to life, but the council decided to reduce the number and scale of the festival, which the students took painfully and strikes began. However, no one wanted to become a leader and Uncle drew lots. Their strikes increased in scale, Then the students accidentally burned down the building of the martial arts club. Then the school decided to expel the main opposition, for whom no one stood up, but the guy was calm to the end. Hyouka ends the story and offers to answer for themselves whether the uncle sacrificed himself. Leonica understands that the covers retell what is happening, where the dog is the teacher and the hairs are the students when the uncle is in the dog's mouth. However, everyone is still interested in almost anthologies called Hyouka. Hyouka replies that it was her uncle's request, but she never understood its meaning. Houtarou says it's a play on words and asks how Hyouka will be in English. After receiving the ice cream response, he suggests reading it more carefully. Eru starts crying because she remembered that she asked about the name of the anthologies. She received the answer to become stronger. Otherwise, when the hard time comes, she will not be able to scream because of weakness. The girl thanks for solving the mystery. The guy fixes his gaze on the inscription. Next, Houtarou is bored in class when suddenly everyone hears a noise from the next class. The guy recognizes Eru's voice, but the noise subsides and the lesson continues. After lessons at the club, the guy reads a book as usual, and Eru tries to calm down Mayaka, who scolds Satoshi. Eru sends out help signals to the guy, which the guy reluctantly accepts. He calms the girl down, receiving thanks from the guy. Satoshi recommends learning calmness from Eru, who says in response that she has not seen guys angry. Satoshi admits that he can be evil since he is also a human being, but he is far from Mayaka's level. It comes to Houtarou, to which Mayaka quips that he is a parody of a man who cannot spend a drop of energy to get angry, which angers the guy. However, he cuts this feeling off at the root, which is exactly what Satoshi is talking about. Next, Satoshi, along with Mayaka, go through the Eru, saying that in addition to the girl's inability to get angry, he is perfect in everything, listing existing sins that the girl does not have, which embarrass the girl and eventually make her angry. She turns away from them, after which she says that it is harmful not to be angry, and also without pride there will be no self-respect, without greed a person will not be able to help someone in a difficult moment, and so on. They come to the conclusion that there should be moderation in everything. Eru adds that if a person cannot be angered, then it will be difficult for him to love something. The guys ask why the girl is not angry. She replies that she saves energy in this way. The guys are starting to panic that the energy-saving virus has passed on to her. She says she was joking when the guy thought he had found a soulmate. She adds that she gets angry too, for example, when food is spoiled. Houtarou decides to ask about the noise during the lesson and gets trapped with another request to solve the mystery. She wants to find out what made her angry during the lesson. She says that a teacher came and wrote a function on the blackboard that they had not yet passed. First, he challenged one student to solve, and then another, but both of them could not solve. Then the teacher got angry and yelled at the students. Then she stood up and corrected the teacher since they had not yet passed this topic. Then the teacher realized that he had made a mistake and apologized. The mystery is why the teacher made a mistake. The girl tries her best to persuade the guy, which in the end she succeeds. After a few unsuccessful assumptions, a thought comes to the guy. The teacher keeps records of the topics covered for each class. It turns out that Satoshi's class has already passed the topic that Eru's class passed today. The students are also divided into parallel classes. Denoting from the letter to the letter D, Houtarou claims that the teacher made a mistake because of the spelling of the classes and confused the classes by pointing to the error on the cookie. The guys agree with the conclusions and go home. Later, all the guys ride on the bus and discuss another mystery. They come to the hot springs that belong to the Mayaka family. They will also be the only guests as the building is being renovated. Mayaka introduces his sisters Keo Zena and Ri Zena, and then takes friends to their rooms. Satoshi admires the view from the window, which repeats Houtarou, who was seasick after the trip. Then they are called for lunch. On the way, the guy guesses by the smell what kind of food will be. After that, he guesses the dessert, which the sisters are surprised at, whispering among themselves. After lunch, the guy returns to the room and finds that Satoshi has already gone to the springs. After killing some time, Houtarou decides to go to the springs too and meets Eru in the corridor. They decide to go together, and on the way the girl is interested in the guy's sister since she is the only child in the family. Arriving at the place, Eru is surprised that the sources are separated. The guy is annoyed by the evidence. He notices his friend's clothes, changes his clothes and goes into the water. Satoshi swims up to him, joking as always, which the guy is not happy about. After some time, the guy begins to have interesting thoughts about what is happening behind the wall and loses consciousness. Satoshi brings him back, leaving him alone. Eru visits him and discovers he has a fever. The guy is overcome by thoughts again, and he turns away from the girl. She offers to join them to listen to scary stories when he gets better and leaves. However, the guy still hears a story about a man who cursed a room in an old building, after which misfortunes occurred in it. You can also see the hanged man in that window. Houtarou decides to close the window after seeing a running figure, but does not attach importance to this. The next morning, Mayaka tells me that she saw the shadow of the hanged man in the window of the cursed room. During breakfast, the guy notices the signed glasses. Eru asks about this mystery and adds that she also saw a shadow. Houtarou suggests that the girls mistook something else for a shadow. The two girls beg to solve the mystery, to which he agrees. He asks about the details of what he saw, and then offers to go to the damn room. They ask Keo to take them there, but she gets nervous and refuses. The guys walk around the building and notice the mud due to the rain. At the lunch, Houtarou says they haven't made much progress in the investigation, but guesses have emerged. Satoshi is angry that he is overboard and does not understand what is being said. Ri comes to them and shows off a new suit, but the guy feels a look behind him. After Houtarou calls Eru to the springs and then is surprised that Satoshi is already at the springs. He learns from him that the summer festival took place yesterday. The guy is illuminated by what happened yesterday. He waits for the girl and tells her that then the girls saw the Ri costume. Keo hid the suit to dry as she got wet because of the rain. She secretly put on a costume for the festival as her sister did not allow her to take her things. Eru is sad that the girls don't get along with each other, but on the way, they notice girls who look like they're talking about the opposite. The guys meet at the club and Eru invites everyone to a preview of the film made by the students. Preparations for the festival are in full swing. In a dark room, the girl Fayumi Arisu is waiting for the guys to show her movie. She gives out a CD and asks for her opinion after watching it. She closes the windows and leaves the guys to watch the movie. A poorly shot film begins, in which the main characters are shown tired from the road. They find an abandoned house and decide to stay in it. They find the floor plan of the building and take the keys, leaving one bunch to find a room for the night. When they get together, they discover that one member of the group is missing. They search through the rooms and they have to take a bunch of keys to unlock the door. Inside, they find a friend lying in strawberry jam, as well as a hand with a key next to him. The guy looks out the window, but the grass looks untouched. They try to leave, but the passage is blocked and the movie ends. The guys can't understand why the movie ends abruptly. Fayumi returns and replies that this is how it should be and offers to unravel who the culprit is, as well as evaluate the film from a technical point of view. They answer her honestly that the film was poorly shot. Houtarou adds that this is not a bad thing. Satoshi adds that the main drawback of the film is its incompleteness. Fayumi agrees that they lack talent and also adds that the problem is in the script. Since the screenwriter is ill, she asks for help with the ending and to find the culprit based on what is shown in the film. Everyone looks at Houtarou, but he refuses and asks why Fayumi won't come up with an ending herself. She replies that detectives are not her strong suit. If she had been in charge of the project from the very beginning, she would not have allowed this. The girl apologizes for the time spent. Eru lights up with a mystery that wants to find out who the culprit is and why the script wasn't finished right away. The guy says he can't promise to solve the mystery. Fayumi offers to listen to the versions of her classmates, and the guy agrees. The next day, a girl Kurako Eba comes for the guys, who will escort them to the meeting place. On the way, they try to find out who she is, as well as about the club. She coldly replies that she is not a member of the club and she is not interested in what they do. However, she speaks well about the screenwriter since she is her friend. She brings Misaki Sawakaguchi, Junya Nakaju and Tomohiro Haba to the classroom, where they will play the role of detectives. The three leave everyone to discuss. Eru treats you to sweets with cognac, which make the guys wince. After some clarifications, Junya says that viewers need to suddenly point directly at the perpetrator, who will tell how he committed the crime. They also discuss how the crime was committed. The perpetrator left through the window as there were no other exits. However, Mayaka recalls that the grass remained untouched. Junya recalls that the screenwriter went to look at the area in May when the grass had not grown yet. He says that they will reshoot the moment with the grass and joyfully leaves the classroom. However, the guys are not satisfied with this version since the perpetrator can be seen from the windows. They ask Kurako for a copy of the script and start listening to Misaki's version. Before that, they discover the detectives that the screenwriter read and find sheets of notes in it. Misaki asks for attention and begins the story. Only the guy had a key that he took himself, and no one took a bunch of keys, as they would not have gone unnoticed. He takes out a rope and puts forward the theory that they came down from the second floor and committed a crime. The screenwriter also asked for a little strawberry jam, but the guy was prepared. The guy leaves them to think about his theory. Eru, who hiccups from sweets, says that she does not like this theory either and eats another candy, receiving a remark from Houtarou. Mayaka is surprised that the girl ate all the candies. The guy says that he doesn't like the theory either, since the building is old and the window is hard to open with noise. Kurako brings the script and Tomohiro greets the guys. She hands over a notebook with notes and says that in addition to 6 people, the screenwriter was looking for a 7th participant. She puts forward her theory in the form of a typical horror movie, where half of the participants drop out, and in the end 2 defeat the criminal and kiss, meeting the dawn. Eru jumps up in disagreement with the theory, blushes, and then turns pale, falls on the table. While the girl is sleeping, the guys discuss the theory among themselves. But without coming to an answer, the guys disperse. Houtarou meets Fayumi, who offers to talk. The girl finds out that the guy didn't like all the versions and asks for details. After hearing them, the girl says that initially the guy was supposed to be the one who would solve the mystery of the film because he is special. These words flatter the guy a lot, so he immediately begins to belittle his importance. However, the girl does not listen to him and begins to tell a story. According to her, there was a student who was always on the bench despite hard training. The first place in the competition was taken by a girl with talent, and when she was asked about the victory, she replied that she was just lucky. Fayumi asks you to think about the feelings of those who do not have talent and understand their value and significance. The next day, Houtarou asks Satoshi if there is something he is better at than others. The guy says no, because he's untalented. He adds that he is interested in detectives, but he is not strong enough to enter the halls of the mind to solve mysteries. The guy admits that he is jealous of him and leaves for school, leaving the guy behind. Later, Mayaka joins the club. Eru stays at home for obvious reasons. Let me remind you, she ate all the sweets with cognac. After reviewing the film, they begin to discuss the details. They notice that the whole film was shot without camera movement and from not always successful angles. Yamachi comes to them and takes Satoshi for additional lessons, despite the guy's opposition. He runs away and hands over his notebook, after which the guy is taken away again. Mayaka says she has to go too and leaves Houtarou alone. After watching the movie dozens of times, the guy calls Fayumi to announce his theory. He says there was only one entrance. The perpetrator used a bunch of keys, but one of the guys could see the whole hall. He assumes that there is a seventh character whose proof is the light of a flashlight. The operator is the seventh character. He waited until everyone had dispersed, turned off the camera, took the keys and went to commit evil. The girl is worried about the fact that the character is not addressed and he does not speak. The guy replies that this is the motive of the crime, drawing attention to himself. After a little thought, the girl thanks the guy for solving the mystery, and they shake hands. Later at the festival, everyone discusses the film, and Junya and Tomohiro thank for their help. Friends praise you for the work you've done. Eru wants to say something, but runs away. Mayaka takes the guy to a corner. The girl says that the seventh character is a great idea, but she is worried about the rope, which did not appear anywhere. She supports the guy, because although the script is full of significant details, the screenwriter's idea is still not clear and leaves. The guy blames himself for forgetting about the rope. He is hailed by Satoshi, who also wants to discuss the ending. He claims that the screenwriter did not plan this ending. He tells his reason for an unreliable narrator when the narrator's move itself leads the reader astray. He adds that the books that the girl based on were based on Sherlock Holmes, where there is no statement of facts, and he understands this. Houtarou says they don't know for sure what exactly the screenwriter was based on. However, Satoshi asks if he is sure that there is more and leaves. Later, Eru also approaches the guy to discuss the film, which further upsets the guy. She says that she is more interested in the screenwriter, who probably knew the ending of her film, but why no one knows about it. If the illness had been more serious, then Kurako, as her best friend, would not have helped with the film. The screenwriter has wonderful classmates and no one would object to the script. However, she still did not tell about the ending and there is a reason for that. Houtarou gets lost in thought and realizes his mistake. He only considered the script, but did not consider the screenwriter. He saw the characters, the plot and the denouement, but he did not see Mayu's feelings. When he gets home, he gets tired of thinking about it. He reassures himself that the film has already been shot and it is pointless to get to the truth. However, the guy does not agree, which is why he falls out of bed. He decides to distract himself by reading a book, after which he is illuminated. The next day, he meets with Fayumi, whom he wants to talk to. They come to the cafe. He reminds the girl of her story about talent. Fayumi asks what he's hinting at. He shows a sheet with signs where live characters are marked with circles and the opposite ones with crosses. He believes that Mayu was not interested in tricks and wanted a happy ending where everyone stays alive. The guy says that this is evidenced by a small request for strawberry jam as well as the result of the survey. The girl is tense. He takes out a sheet in which there is a poll on the number of characters, where there is only one vote for leaving everyone alive. He also adds that the script and the video are distinguished by the desperation of one of the characters. He assumes that after seeing the differences between the film and his idea, Mayu cannot step over himself and ask to reshoot the film. Therefore, she hands over responsibility for the film to Fayumi, acting out a version with a serious illness. When the three failed to cope with the script, they called the literary club, replacing the task from writing the script to solving the mystery. Fayumi does not deny the guy's words. He recalls the story of the talent again and asks who the story was about, him or Mayu. After a pause, the girl replies that he should decide who she is talking about. Later at the club, Houtarou asks Eru if she is interested in the real Mayu script. After receiving a restrained response, he says that she is behaving strangely. She replies that he is also behaving strangely as he offers to answer the question himself. She lights up again and asks me to tell her. He replies that in the Mayu finale, everyone stays alive. The guy gets injured by the girl, and after the conversation, he decides to cover for her. He locks himself in a room, explaining his injury with broken glass on the floor. Houtarou wakes up from the heat and hears the sound of running water. He goes down to the first floor and sees a suitcase in the living room, as well as souvenirs. He asks his sister about the return and she gives confirmation. She asks why he doesn't rush into her arms, but the guy ignores the question. He sits down to watch TV. He explains to his sister that he does not want to strain his brain with reading and he has an important task, namely to do nothing. She offers a case in which nothing needs to be done either, but they pay for it. Considering silence as consent, she gives a sunscreen that will be useful at work. The guy is getting dressed and tidying himself up when Satoshi calls and asks for the book back. The guy replies that he is going to work, which shocks his friend. He clarifies that he will be a lifeguard at a public pool. Houtarou is quietly working when his friends approach him. He evaluates Eru's swimsuit and looks away. Satoshi says he immediately called the girls as there would be no other chance to see the guy at work. Nearby, they notice a tan guy clashing with another guy over a girl in a red swimsuit. Houtarou is glad that he does not need to sort out the conflict. While Houtarou is working, the guys are playing ball. Eru is losing and she needs to complete the task. She modestly approaches the guy and sprinkles him with water. Then the friends roll down the hill and the guy can only watch. He is relieved and decides to have a snack. His friends join him. They chat sweetly, making fun of the guy. The guy doesn't answer. The two continue to joke, but the guy continues to be indifferent. After lunch, Eru wants to say something, but she is briefly distracted by a girl with a child. Eru notices the fast swimmers and suggests that they may be looking at a future champion. The guy replies that it depends on the person, whether he is special or not. The girl asks the guy if he wants to be special. He finds it difficult to answer, but is inclined to answer no. She admits that she thinks he's special. However, the guy says that this is only her opinion. She approaches the guy and asks what is wrong with her own opinion, and also adds that everyone is special who thinks so. Later, the guys gather again. Eru says there is a new mystery that interests her. She tells about a girl with a child who had something white on her ear, but now it's gone. The guys are worried that it might be an earring, stepping on it will hurt. The guy does not want to look all over the pool for a small earring and offers to check with the girl. She says that together with the girl is the same tan guy. Eru takes the guy by the hand, which makes the guy tense up and give up. Houtarou receives a task from his boss to find an earring, which his friends promise to help with. Satoshi divides the guys in search of the earrings and then tells Houtarou not to ignore them. A little later, Mayaka asks not to shirk from work. She adds that the guy used to piss her off, but now he pisses her off even more with his indifference. Houtarou notices the girl knocking water out of her ears. They gather, where Houtarou says that there is no need to look for anything, since the girl's movements indicate that she did not have earrings. He asks Satoshi to take Mayaka in his arms, but the girl is shy, but she agrees to Eru's hands. Houtarou shows that the girl puts her hands on her shoulders. He points to a child who is eating ice cream and assumes that the child has dirtied the girl's ear. Eru admires the guy, but the guy refuses compliments. Friends are glad that Houtarou has started behaving as usual. Satoshi got hungry and offered to have an ice cream snack. Mayaka remembered that the guy promised to finish his part on Hyouka by today. She drags the guy away to finish the job. Eru asked how he knew something was ice cream. He replied that there was only ice cream in her swimsuit around from white, which makes the girl embarrassed. The guy was thrown his uniform and told that his shift had started. There is a day left before the festival and all 4 members of the literature club cannot sleep from waiting. Mayaka drinks sleeping pills, Satoshi makes a to-do list, Houtarou checks the website, and Eru prays for good luck. The next day, the guys discuss their upcoming plans. Satoshi notices Mayaka and runs towards her. He evaluates her outfit and asks who she is cosplaying. The girl asks not to say this word and answers. Together they go to the school, which is decorated for the festival. Satoshi leaves them as he needs to go to the sewing club. They come to the club, where they find out that instead of 30 copies of their anthologies, 200 have been printed. Satoshi resorts by smashing a Saturn-shaped headdress. Mayaka blames himself and says he will buy out the rest. Together, they calm Mayaka down and decide to try to sell all the anthologies. They decide that they need to ask for a better place and go to the president of the educational council. Satoshi also offers to hold an advertising campaign to make them known. He offers to participate in competitions and win. Then they go to the assembly hall, where they talk about the start of the festival and show a dance number. Eru goes to his goal, but stumbles into a club dedicated to calligraphy and writes a cool quote. And then there's the card game where he gets a medal. She finally reaches the right office. A guy named Eru Chitanda, who is the president of the study council, asks what the girl needs. She asks for help with the club and talks about the problem. The guy replies that he cannot fix the situation so easily, but offers to talk to other clubs so that they can take several copies of the anthology for themselves. At this time, Mayaka comes to the manga club where the girl Ayako Kuchai, with whom Mayaka clearly has some problems, asks about cosplay. The other girls are discussing Mayaka behind their backs. Shouko Yuasa, the head of the manga club, arrives. Mayaka wants to ask her to sell their anthologies, but because of the girls, she does not dare to do so. Houtarou stays at the club to sell anthologies, which he is very happy about, although he does not look like it. He writes down how many copies they will buy themselves, then goes to watch the show through the window and returns to the club. A guy who looks like a punk walks in and buys a copy. He notices the guy's pen and says he's from a sewing club and needs a pen for an image. Houtarou gives away the pen and in return receives a backstage pass where you can get an outfit. At this time, Eru realizes that he is distracted again and goes to talk about the club. She is caught in the lens camera, after which a photo shoot begins from which the girl escapes. She tries not to be distracted by her surroundings, but she can't take her eyes off because everything is interesting to her. In the midst of the festival, there is a competitive quiz in which Satoshi participates in his beautiful costume. First, weak players are eliminated by choosing the correct answer. The guy goes to the finalists, where Koryuki Tani goes along with him, who tells him that something happened. But the assistant presenter calls them to the podium. Satoshi enchantingly advertises the club and the anthology that victory is no longer important to him. At this time, Eru returns to the club, having clearly passed all the notable places in the school. She is upset that she was denied the best place to sell anthologies. Houtarou says that Satoshi has done an excellent advertisement. The girl is happy about this because you can print about their club in the journalism club. The girl runs away, leaving a pile of paper on the table. The guy notices the photos. Masashi replies to the girl that they can't print them just like that because everything is planned, but if there is any sensation, they will come running to find out the details themselves. Then the girl meets Kaho Juomanji, who invites her to her hut. She says that a tarot card was stolen from her, a note and an open magazine were left. At this time, Satoshi is one step away from victory. Koryuki says that several stones were stolen from their Go Game club. He adds that the loss would not have been noticed, but the thief left a note. The guys lose and Koryuki offers to compete in a culinary duel. At this time, Houtarou is looking at photos of a girl when a new customer comes to him. Houtarou sells one copy and tells the guy that his fly is unbuttoned and gives him a pin. In gratitude, the guy gives him a water pistol. At this time, Ayako is angry that no one is buying their manga and also says that they chose the wrong decision. Mayaka can't stand it and starts arguing with the girl. Ayako says the manga is uninteresting and is only read to kill time. Mayaka says that she does not like the interpretation of the girl, because from her words it can be understood that there are no masterpieces. Ayako replies that masterpieces are time-tested. However, Mayaka does not agree with this and suggests reading a manga released by the manga club last year, which if Ayako does not like, then she will agree with the girl. Customers came to the noise and the girl immediately became kinder. In the evening, the guys sum up the results. Satoshi says he will compete in the cooking challenge, but Mayaka says it takes 3 people to participate. The guy offers the girls to help him, to which they agree. Eru notices the envelope and asks if the guy has seen the photos, but asks him to forget and becomes very shy. In the evening, Mayaka is looking for a manga that she promised to bring for Ayako. She remembers how much she enjoyed reading manga. After searching every corner, she still does not find the manga. The next day, Ayako asks about the manga and Mayaka apologizes for not being able to find it. The girl assigns the task to help with the posters. Mayaka is surprised that the girl did not mock her and remembered the name of the manga. Later, the guys gather and Mayaka warns that she has things to do. She is put last on the schedule and she promises to be done by that time. Next, Satoshi tells Jiru that there was a theft at the Go Club. Jiru says there was a theft at the choral singing club too and a note was left. At this time, Eru asks for help with the sale of anthologies, to which Fayumi agrees. The girl asks for a copy, but Eru does not understand. The girl asks to teach the gift of persuasion, which confuses the second. The girl says that you need to make the opponent come to the right decision on his own, and for this you need to make the person feel that you are hoping for him. She also suggests making requests with people of the opposite sex alone. At this time, 2 pumpkin girls come to Houtarou and ask for a purse or a life. They offer to buy cookies and start playing with a water pistol. He offers to exchange 2 packs for an anthology and give the gun as a bonus. They thank him and give him a pack of flour. While Mayaka is busy drawing posters, a cooking competition begins. Eru is worried, but Satoshi calms her down. Koryuki introduces one of his allies, who is the son of a cook. However, Satoshi is not discouraged. The competition begins and the presenter introduces the participants. The rules also explain that each team member cooks one dish, but it is impossible to prompt during cooking. All ingredients are presented in common use, but they can be brought from outside. Satoshi starts cooking first, to whom Eru tries to suggest his mistakes with gestures. Satoshi finishes one dish when time runs out. Eru shows his cooking skills while the other contestants are not doing well. The girl prepares the last dish and the time of her round ends. Satoshi praises the girl for cooking, but there are no more ingredients left. Leonica finishes the posters and runs to the competition. The girl is greeted by the presenters and the audience, but the problem with the products is still not solved. She finds an onion and some vegetables, but she doesn't know what to do with it. Suddenly, Satoshi hears Houtarou calling him. The guy throws off a bag of flour and Satoshi passes it to the girl. Leonica comes up with a dish and starts cooking. She does not detect the ladle and asks for delivery of the device. She cooks a dish of vegetables, shrimp, and flour, managing at the last moment. The literary club wins. Leonica complains about the lack of a ladle to the presenter as it delayed her. Eru finds another theft note. Houtarou is having lunch when the guys return with a victory. He congratulates them on their victory, and they thank them for the bag of flour. Eru shows a note from the thief and throws questions at the guy, but he says they have more important things to do and points to the anthology. Satoshi says that advertising is not enough and suggests solving this mystery to attract attention. Houtarou says it's difficult to find a thief among the many students and guests. Satoshi lists the clubs that have been affected by a thief calling himself Jumanji. Everyone understands that the clubs and stolen items are arranged alphabetically and understands that their club will be the last to suffer. Eru goes to the journalism club before remembering tips on manipulation. She takes the guy away and asks him to print in the newspaper about the literary club. He says they have a lot to do because of the new sensation. The girl mentions the thief and the guy immediately asks for details because their club was robbed too. Further down the corridor, she meets Satoshi, who found out that an item with the same letter was stolen from the Glee Club. Next, the guy sees Koryuki, who asks about the thief and assures that he will catch the thief. At this time, Houtarou is discussing with Leonica about the thief. The girl wonders why he decided to catch the thief, but the guy blames everything on Eru, who will ask him for a solution. The girl laughs and also thanks for the flower before leaving. The guy stretches out his hand so that she gives something in return and the girl gives back the mirror. At this time, besides Satoshi and the guy with the stupid hairstyle, there are more people who are interested in catching a thief. The performance begins at the Magic Club, where they notice the loss of a candle. A group of girls are discussing Leonica and Ayako stands up for her, who asks her to shut up. Leonica feels the tension and decides to go out into the fresh air, where Shouko decides to talk to her. She apologizes for the tension in the club and also reveals that she and Ayako are friends with the author of the manga that Leonica mentioned. The girl assumes that the girls had a conflict. Later, Eru reads the newspaper and sees the remarkable information. Satoshi returns to the club and says he couldn't catch the thief. Houtarou replies that it was foolish to expect to catch a thief during a performance. Eru comes and says that in addition to the literary club, the needlework club may suffer and then it will become more difficult for them to catch a thief. In the evening, Eru complained to the plush eggplant that it was difficult for her to follow the girl's advice. Leonica is still sad that she couldn't find the manga and is even sadder looking at her work. Early morning, Satoshi reads the school newspaper about the Jumanji case and promises himself that he will catch the thief. Further along the school, where he sees a crowd of schoolchildren waiting for the thief's next move. Eru notices Houtarou's sister and thinks she has seen her before. It takes a long time when it becomes known that there was a theft at another club. At this time, Houtarou is looking at the anthology's sales growth when his sister comes to him. She buys an anthology and asks about the mirror. He explains the principle of the exchange, which began with her pen, and the girl decides to exchange it for manga. He decides to read the preface, which mentions the next work called The Order of Curls, which interests the guy. Next, Eru comes to the broadcasting club and asks a guy named Yasukuni Yoshino to talk about the literary club. However, the guy interrupts the girl and offers to participate in the lunch show himself. The girl thanks the guy, and then he returns to the club. She notices the manga at Houtarou and says that she has already seen it somewhere and is curious. She takes the manga from the guy and finds a picture that looks like the one that hangs in the school. At this time, Leonica is busy drawing posters when she is doused with water. Holding back tears, she goes to change clothes and then meets Eru. She sees manga from a girl who turns out to be the one she needed. They check the poster and the manga together and come to the conclusion that it was drawn by the same person. They decide to contact the president of the educational council to find out the author. It turns out to be Munayoshi Kugeyama, a representative of the school board. This information is shared with other members of the club. Leonica asks to borrow the manga and the guy agrees, but asks her to return it as soon as possible because he still needs it. After thinking a little, Houtarou decides to call Satoshi to talk. Satoshi clarifies the topic of conversation, which activates the girl's curiosity. However, the guy refuses the girl and the guys go to talk together. Houtarou says that the theft takes place of 10 items in 10 clubs. The note says that the item is missing, not stolen. Also, due to the great excitement, some letters were skipped. And it is also mentioned in the manga that the next work will be dedicated to Detective Agatha Christie, who has a work called Murder Alphabetically. In general, they become witnesses to the motives of the detective. Houtarou asks you to prepare the subject for the desired letter. At this time, Eru is on the radio, however, she gets nervous and knocks down the microphone. But having calmed down, she says that the literary club intends to catch the thief and for this it needs the help of students, inviting them to its club. She also asks to buy anthologies and the radio broadcast ends. Yasukuni tells the girl that she did a good job. After the advertisement, a lot of people gathered at the club and the sale of anthologies increased. While everyone is furiously discussing that Jumanji can't steal anything, papers are flashing on the desk. Satoshi puts them out and says they've been outplayed. They also find a note from Jumanji. The last day of the festival ends and the students clean up the school. Fayumi hands over an envelope with money from the sale of anthologies and says that Eru should find her own approach to solving non-cases and not follow her advice. Koryuki then says that he hoped the guys would be able to catch Jumanji and leaves. Satoshi tells the girl that his friend does not know Japanese and throws expressions like he hoped. Mayaka doesn't understand what this is about. The guy says that confident people do not feel hope because hope is the highest degree of despair. The guy gives an example, starting to tell what he saw in this place Houtarou. The guy assumed that Jumanji is Jiru. Houtarou showed the first piece of evidence where it says missing instead of stolen. He continued, saying that the letter K was missing, which broke the alphabetical order, but the guy assumed that it was a message to a person who would understand the cipher. Jiru replied that it was a rather veiled message. Houtarou said that the recipient could understand since what was happening was similar to the plot of the Curly Order and took out the manga. Jiru began to visibly tense up. Houtarou opened the guidebook and showed a page from which the affected clubs are taken in alphabetical order. The page also contains the name to which the Manayoshi message is addressed. Houtarou said that only the organizing committee can arrange the order of the clubs. Jiru asked why he was the one, if there were more people on the committee. Houtarou replied that his name and the name Manayoshi are found in the preface of the manga. Houtarou suggested that the draft with the Curly Order was missing due to Manayoshi's fault and the thief thus began to take revenge. Also, judging by the fictitious name of the author, the syllables of the names are taken and the order is rearranged. Houtarou finished his arguments. Jiru patted the guy and admired that the guy was able to understand the message. Houtarou asked the reasons for this method of transmitting information. Jiru replied that apart from feelings for the girl and the author of the manga, who transferred to another school and the desire to fool around at the festival, he could not directly express his complaints to Manayoshi. Houtarou asked to buy 30 copies of the anthology for his silence and then sell them through the school's website. The guy said that he couldn't buy so many anthologies because it needed demand. Houtarou replied that there would be demand if the last victim of the thief was a literary club. He added that he and Satoshi would provide him with support in the crime. Jiru agreed to the offer and asked for details. Houtarou replied that they have a draft that will be exposed to the reaction of sodium and water. When enough anthologies are sold, he will give a signal. Mayaka asks the guy about the hope of beating Houtarou. He replies that he collects information easily, but cannot put together a complete picture. Later, Mayaka brings the manga and asks Ayako if she knows the author. Ayako is surprised that the girl brought manga and starts drawing on the railing. She asks her about her feelings when a friend of a non-addicted manga suddenly creates a masterpiece. So she read it halfway through and put it on the shelf. The girl leaves and says that if she finishes reading, then she will write to her friend and ask her to create more, but she can't do that. Mayaka notices a drawing that looks like a manga emblem and feels the bitterness of injustice. At the club, the guys see that there are only 4 anthologies left and decide to buy them, after which they are glad that everything is sold out. Eru says that it remains only to solve the Jumanji case, which Houtarou is clearly not happy about. Satoshi sets him up and declares that Houtarou has a couple of guesses and offers to discuss them over a festive dinner, which the girls agree with. Later, the literary club discusses the growth of mushrooms under the influence of classical music. Satoshi adds that mushrooms grow under the influence of lightning, feeling stressed. They hear a helicopter and Houtarou remembers that their high school teacher loved helicopters. However, Satoshi and Mayaka do not remember this. He adds that the teacher even stopped the lesson to admire the helicopter. Mayaka begins to remember. However, Satoshi remembers that once a squadron flew over the school, but the teacher did not pay attention to it. The guys discuss that in fact, the teacher really didn't react to the helicopters anymore after that time. Satoshi says that there were a lot of rumors about the teacher, one of which said that the teacher was struck by lightning 3 times. Houtarou begins to think about it and does not recall that their circles were famous for lightning. However, he does not think that Satoshi would lie, and the guy illuminates. He asks if there are any old editions of newspapers in the library and invites the guys to go with him. The guys can't believe their ears that Houtarou wants to solve the mystery himself. Satoshi checks the authenticity of the guy, looking for a substitution. Leonica continues the joke and suggests that the guy go home and sleep it off. Eru, on the other hand, flashes his eyes full of curiosity, wanting to find out what might interest the guy. The girl's behavior makes him feel embarrassed. After lessons, he waits for a girl who offers to ride a bike. The guy ponders impossible scenarios and refuses. Houtarou asks the girl to find the necessary information while he is walking. On the way, he remembers his sister saying that there is a different climate beyond the high mountains. He comes to the library and Eru brings him a newspaper clipping where the teacher is mentioned. The news says that the trail is being cleared of debris, and the guy has a theory and he hopes that his guess is not correct. The guy asks if there is more and the girl suggests asking at the reception. They ask for an article with the date they need and the keyword collapse. They look at the headlines and find the right one, which they are asked to bring. They are brought a folder where they find the article and read it. He recalls that lightning struck the teacher, which means he was in places where it could hit him, namely in the mountains. Mountains are a dangerous place, most likely the teacher was a climber. He was not interested in the helicopters themselves, but in the fact that it was a rescue service. The next day, it was written in the newspaper that the bodies of the climbers had been found by the rescue service. After Eru asks again why he became interested in the mystery and decided to solve it. The guy replies that there is nothing surprising in the fact that he spends energy because he was solving mysteries for someone. The girl says that she did it, but not for herself, and therefore she is interested. He says he got a bad feeling when Satoshi started talking about lightning. He adds that he wanted to verify the memories and facts, so he decided to check. He did not want to accept that the teacher just loves helicopters, and the girl also made it easier to find a solution, and he could only concentrate if the theory was confirmed. The girl thanks him for discovering new facets of the soul and they say goodbye. After a while, the guy thinks about choosing the right answer from the 2 correct options. This is luck. After lessons, 2 people are sitting in a club and the guy decides to talk. He asks about his uncle's funeral and she replies that everything went without incident. The girl calls the guy amazing as he solves mysteries like her uncle. The guy is embarrassed and asks to be called lucky, but not awesome in any way, and says that you can substitute your theory for any event. He also offers to give him any situation, proving that anything can be explained, and this will mean that you cannot completely trust his theories. A girl with twinkles in her eyes agrees, starting to look for an event. Over the loudspeaker, everyone who made purchases on the 31st of October at a certain address is asked to go to the teacher's room. The girl offers this secret and he accepts the challenge. First of all, it is found out that the store is owned by an elderly couple and it is not far from the elementary school. High school students have nothing to do there. She approaches the guy to keep an eye on new recordings, but the closeness makes both of them feel embarrassed. He adds that if the students were called to the staff room, then something unpleasant happened. He also notes that the request was announced only once and after lessons, although most of the students had dispersed, which means that the matter is urgent. Also, since it was announced today, it means there is no time to wait until tomorrow. Another announcement is made by a certain teacher, but he calls to his office and then he is called to the teacher's room. The guy assumes that the student or students are involved in the crime. However, there are no police. The girl assumes that this is theft or the person committed a crime and was identified in the store. The guy says that there can only be theft because the specific appearance was not described in the ad. Those who are looking do not know the appearance and hope for an honest confession. However, if the guy had been involved in a crime and heard that they did not know who exactly committed it, he would not have confessed. The guy assumes that they confessed through a letter, reading the text, since today is the 1st of November and the announcement says the date, not yesterday. He assumes that someone repented and wrote a letter, the owners took it to the police, and the police sent it to the school where they announced a search. He suggests that the owners themselves may have tipped off their school, especially if the student behaved suspiciously. Perhaps there was a misunderstanding and the person repented and wrote a letter in which he repented. The guy assumed that the student had paid with a fake 10,000 yen bill. The girl is outraged and the guys almost kiss, but the guy says it's just an argument. The girl calms down and says that, first of all, 10,000 yen is the largest denomination and how the student got it. The first thing is that using an ATM is not an option since it will not work to cheat the car. If it were given out for pocket expenses, then parents can be told about the problem of the bill. They assume that the person has found or earned. He asks the girl if she likes money and could just throw it away. She replies that if they are honestly earned, it is difficult to say goodbye to them. The guy assumes that the person, having earned them himself, could not accept it so easily and decided to change them. He also assumes that the person borrowed money from someone and got a fake one returned to him. This was probably someone higher in rank, so he couldn't show it to him and decided to change the bill through the store. Perhaps the police want to find out the way of the bill and find the counterfeiters. The guy feels dissatisfied with the fact that the girl is silent when he has spent so much energy. She says it's great what theory they came up with based on little information and suggests finding out what really happened. The guy asks to rest. The next day, the guy reads a newspaper that says about counterfeit bills and thinks that their argument should have started for the sake of wild conclusions. After some time in a cold, dark room, Houtarou asks Eru for the truthfulness of the statement that as you celebrate the new year, you will spend it. The girl says that she is much more interested in how they got into the situation and whether it depended on his bad prediction. The day before the incident, Eru calls the guy and offers to visit the temple for the new year and also evaluate the new outfit. In the evening, a guy meets a girl, admiring her beauty. He offers to help carry a bag with a bottle of alcohol. She says that she has been instructed to bring an offering to the temple on behalf of the family. The guy is surprised that the girl is busy even on a holiday. She asks what he did on vacation. The guy replies that he tried on the life of a hermit cancer, but asks the girl not to go into details. She suggests calling their friends, but before that, pray and run an errand. They are greeted by an old man who invites them inside. They are sitting at a table where they are greeted by Kaho, who had her tarot card stolen at the festival, but is now a priestess at the temple. They hand over the gift and Kaho accepts it. Next, the guys decide to visit Mayaka, who works as an assistant. She throws a barb at the guy and continues to have a nice conversation with Eru. She says that her shift will end soon and offers to spend time together. Answering the guy's question, the girl says that she sells predictions, and she also helps to find lost children to find their parents or their owner's belongings, after which she admires the girl's bag. Eru buys a prediction and she gets a lot of luck, while the guy gets the opposite. Back in the hall, they notice Kaho's fussiness. She says that there was an unpleasant situation in the kitchen and you need to cook again. Eru offers help and is offered to bring wine powder from the warehouse. Houtarou volunteers to help the girl. They come to the warehouse and inside it they realize that they have made the wrong place. They are about to leave when they realize that they are locked up. Feeling them gradually freeze, Houtarou decides to call for help to be found. Eru asks not to do this as people will misunderstand two teenagers alone. Houtarou says they will be found anyway, which will be even worse, and asks what to do. The girl says that the one who will definitely understand them is Mayaka and needs to call her. They realize that they do not have phones and the girl offers to return to the plan to call for help. He refuses because the girl is still worried about her reputation and therefore says that she will try to consider more options. He says that the door cannot be removed from its hinges, but there are 4 more options for it. However, they are all more of a joke. They look through the cracks in the wall and see how the temple assistant finds the lost thing, which he will carry to the main temple. The guy remembers that Mayaka works there. He takes a shovel and increases the size of the gap and asks for a thing that Mayaka recognizes and senses something is wrong. At this time, Satoshi comes to the temple, greets Kaho, who asks on the way if he has seen Eru. Next, he goes to Mayaka and she asks about a handkerchief that looks like their friend's handkerchief. Satoshi suggests asking Eru about it when she gets back. Returning to the warehouse, they realize that no one will come to the handkerchief. Houtarou decides to throw in his wallet. It is brought to a girl who laughs that he has lost his wallet, but the girl finds it strange that it is empty and his prediction with misfortune is tied on top. The guys realize again that no one is coming. Eru assumes that Satoshi has already arrived. Houtarou has an idea. He starts looking for a ribbon in the barn and asks if the girl has a rope of sufficient length. She examines herself and offers to untie the ribbon from her outfit. He says that then her outfit will fall apart and then they will definitely be misunderstood. The guy remembers that there was a sign above the barn and pulls out a rope. Mayaka begins to sound the alarm as she is absolutely sure that something is wrong. Satoshi sees the purse and understands what's going on. He clarifies where the items were found and runs there. Houtarou explains that in the story, the warlord's sister conveyed such a message, meaning a trap. The warlord was betrayed and surrounded from 2 sides. Satoshi arrives, opens the door and wishes the guys a happy new year. Last year, on Valentine's Day, Satoshi refused to accept chocolate from Mayaka as it was not prepared on its own. She tears open the package, bites off the chocolate and promises the guy that next year he will definitely accept it. This year, the girl is desperate because of the difficulty of making the perfect chocolate. Mayaka asks Eru to take her to a store that sells chocolate ingredients and says it's a secret. Houtarou doesn't understand what's secret if the girls discuss it in front of him, and he gets threatened if he talks. After Houtarou meets Satoshi, who invites him to play slot machines. During the game, he notices that Satoshi is playing calmly and is not obsessed with winning as it was before. At this time, the girls are looking for the right jewelry and Mayaka decides to ask who Eru likes. The girl begins to feel embarrassed by such a question. The next morning, Houtarou finds a gift from his sister but rudely does not accept it. On the way to school, he sees Eru and asks about the work done. She replies that they made great chocolate because they put feelings into it. She says that Mayaka is going to the manga club and she will leave the chocolate at the literary club. She reminds me that today is Valentine's Day, but it is not customary in her family to give gifts, and yet they are interrupted by school children discussing the snowy weather. The girl is embarrassed and says that they are late. Later at school, Houtarou sees Satoshi and says that he will wait for the weather to improve in the library and wishes him good luck when he finds out that he is going to the club. Eru finds the girl's chocolate and is touched and then goes to Houtarou. She is worried that Satoshi did not come to the club. The weather has improved and Houtarou is about to go home, but a girl stops him and tells him that the chocolate was stolen. Houtarou agrees to help and they all go to the club together. They have to go up another staircase because the staircase is painted, and on the way they help the student to hang a poster exactly. In the Eru club, he tells the details of what happened. They decide to ask the guy with the poster who went to the 4th floor. The guy replies that he saw 3, meaning them. They decide to bypass the clubs that are on their floor. They arrive at the astronomy club, where Tomohiro greets them and says that no one took chocolate from their company. They're going back to the club. Mayaka arrives, surprised that all the guys are here, and asks Satoshi about the chocolate. Eru admits that chocolate was stolen because of her. Mayaka replies that there is no need to worry about it and goes home. Houtarou stops Eru and sees her tears. He says that it is difficult to hide chocolate under the male form, but it is quite possible under the female form. He promises that he will find chocolate and sends the girl home. After sitting until dark, Houtarou calls Satoshi to go home. On the way, he asks for a friend's bag, shakes it off and hands him the chocolate that Satoshi stole. When he heard the story, he immediately realized that it was Satoshi's doing. The guy in the hallway didn't see anyone else. He waited until Eru left and came to the club. The chocolate turned out to be more than he had planned, and he could not meet the girl in the hallway with chocolate in his hands. That's why he broke the chocolate. Houtarou asks if he had any doubts before breaking it. Satoshi tells the reason why he can't accept the girl's feelings. He lost the point of being obsessed with anything and became obsessed with the idea of not being obsessed. However, how can you not be obsessed if you are in a relationship? He says that Mayaka is a great girl and he would like to date her, but does not want to lose his head from her. He adds that he is selfish if he puts his feelings above the girl's feelings by doing this to her. Before that, the girls had a conversation where Mayaka told Eru that she knew the guy had chocolate. She told me about last Valentine's Day and today was supposed to be the answer from the guy. Mayaka said that despite the guy's lies, she still loves him. Houtarou asks to determine his feelings for the girl and they go home. Houtarou calls Eru and says that the chocolate has reached its destination. Satoshi calls Mayaka at this time to tell her something. Weekend, early morning. Houtarou calls Eru and asks him to hold an umbrella over her during her performance at the doll festival, where she will be in the role of the empress. The guy reluctantly agrees and goes to the specified place. On the way, he passes through a bridge that is going to be repaired. He gets to the right place, where he is allowed into the common room. He warms his hands on the heater and feels uncomfortable because of the fuss of others. One of the old men thanks the guy for his responsiveness, as they do not have enough hands. After a while, it comes to the bridge and Houtarou says that it was blocked when he drove through it. They clarify the information from the guy and send another person to check the bridge. They explain that their procession passes through the bridge, so it cannot be blocked. After a while, one of the men returns and confirms that the bridge is closed for repairs. Old men swear at each other, and then decide which route they need to take to make the procession go well. The red-haired guy suggests going a little further over another bridge, which the others were not particularly happy about. At this time, the woman calls Houtarou, as Eru called him. He comes at a time when she is being dressed behind a screen. She asks about the problems that have arisen and he talks about the problem with the bridge, not understanding why the men are concerned about changing the route. Eru asks to convey that she will personally negotiate with the priests and adds that they will understand her words. That's what the guy says. The men all go to work at the command of the oldest. The guy is dressed in a suit and he decides to ask why this role was not assigned to the redhead. The red-haired guy replies that the suit is not his size. After that, they both come to the conclusion that the guy looks stupid. The celebration begins, paparazzi take pictures of the speakers and Eru comes out. The guy floats in his thoughts, thinking that his life with energy saving has gone to waste. He finds himself thinking that he wants to see a girl, to see her face and makeup and how she walks gracefully. He is hailed by friends who are photographing the procession. Later, they convey Houtarou's admiration for the performance and learn that Eru is now conducting a purification ceremony. The guys add that the guy didn't look good in a suit at all, after which Satoshi leaves for a treat. Mayaka thanks the guy for his help on Valentine's Day. A little later, at Eru's house, the guy decides to go outside. A girl finds him and offers to solve the mystery of the bridge. She offers to write her guesses on her hand and come to an opinion. They both suspect the red-haired guy of sabotage. The guy explains that someone called and allowed the bridge to be repaired earlier than expected. After they found out about the problems with the bridge, only one did not panic and suggested a new route. Houtarou also recalled part of a conversation with a red-haired guy who said that it is not often possible to see the spectacle, but the holiday takes place every year. The fact is that this year the cherry blossoms were blooming and to see a procession under the cherry blossoms is really not a common occurrence. Later, she decides to tell why, after her words, everyone stopped panicking. She says that once the territory was divided into two parts and the territory is still divided. When celebrating religious holidays without the knowledge and agreement of the second half is not welcome. The girl says that this is her legacy and she will definitely return here, even if she goes to college. She says that she will take exact sciences for exams, because after the festival the girl realized that she was not fit to be a leader, but she needed to be able to do it. She stops the guy and offers to look at her in her world. The guy looks at the girl and feels a strange sensation. He feels in love.
Take